The building sector is the largest consumer of energy and also the largest source of energy-related greenhouse gas emissions. From that point of view, it's absolutely essential to tackle the building sector in trying to bring down energy consumption, but also the energy used from fossil sources, and bring down greenhouse gas emissions. The EPBD is the cooperative framework to deliver on that challenge together, the member states and different stakeholders, but also with input from the Commission. The EPBD works together with the Energy Efficiency Directive and also the Renewable Energy Directive and the ETS in particular. On that basis, basically, we are confident that we can drive forward the necessary change of at least doubling or even tripling the current energy renovation rates. The biggest challenge is feasibility in society. We have set down the objectives basically of climate neutrality by 2050. We need to move forward on a continuous pathway via 2030, 2040, and make sure that change and improvements are continuous. A very important challenge is resources for doing it. It's investments, but for that you need financial means, but you need also physical capacity of industry for the different solutions, but also workers' skills to make it happen. And that is a very important aspect to ensure that we scale up our capacity in society, have the right numbers of people with the right skills, the right and necessary capacity of industry, and SMEs also to make the change happen, and bring in also the financial means from partly the public side, but in particular also the private sector from banks to provide the volumes necessary. And furthermore, it is very important for citizens and the owners, inhabitants, tenants to basically be able to agree to bring forward their concerns and also bring in their ideas, the objectives, what they want to reach with the renovations for each building. For each building and neighborhood, we need to agree on the objectives basically to basically make sure that citizens will be satisfied with the outcome. There are normally various solutions which are possible. It is important to develop a renovation journey basically for each building or neighborhood. For instance, in relation to which sources of energy, renewable energy for instance, the insulation of the envelopes of the building, the facade, the roof, window, but also the heating systems, collective solutions, district heating for instance, but also communal production of heating and cooling for instance, or renewable energy. And that requires a discussion across neighbors and neighborhoods, often together with the municipal authorities in terms of urban planning, to have basically common approaches in terms of creating larger volumes, packages for financing, but also permits and urban planning in order to bring down costs basically and make it basically fully compatible also with the needs of the energy system, grids, the capacity of grids, but also the interconnection with recharging stations for mobility, which also need to work alongside basically the buildings. So that is very important from our perspective. Currently we have a sector which of course is already very well equipped, but we simply need to scale up capacity. So at least double or even triple the current capacity for renovations to make it until 2050 in a continuous manner basically. For that challenge to be addressed, we need to install basically the necessary planning certainty, provide the necessary planning certainty for investments, but also training programs, vocational training programs, attract also people to the sector, to the construction and renovation sector, and also provide sufficient information to citizens. So develop and identify good practices which can be replicated and scale up the solutions across society. So that is very important. And the build-up project, also the build-up for skills project, is absolutely crucial to spread good information and good practices across societies, across member states, and try to replicate what actually works well or even best under certain circumstances. There we can really learn from each other in order not to repeat mistakes, for instance, but also optimize certain solutions. And by increasing the volumes, also the costs go down. It is very important for the member states, for instance, in their national renovation plans, to identify the different barriers in a national context, because every member state is different. And there are, of course, different bottlenecks and challenges in each member state. The building stock is different, but also the situation in a particular national, regional, even local context can be different. So the more granular, the more specific the solutions are and will be identified by the member states, the better it will be possible to tackle them also. And also the wishes and objectives of citizens can be different depending on the cultural context, the history of the building stock, the specific features, the climate zone where it is. And that's why it requires a deep look where exactly we are and what can be done and needs to be done in each particular context. So it requires, on the one hand, a bigger strategic look, but on the other hand, an in-depth look in a specific geographical context on the ground in order to be able to be sufficiently granular in the solutions. It's now time for implementation, and implementation allows also to, I would say, develop further policies at national level. One needs to fill out at national level the various flexibilities of the directive. But first and foremost, what we are trying to do is to develop a common understanding with member states and stakeholders what the directive requires as a minimum, while allowing for more to be defined at national level. And for that to happen, we are going to establish, in close consultation with the member states and stakeholders, guidance documents by mid next year, mid-2025, so that basically this can be used as a basis for further decision making, but also exchange of good practices and experiences which have been collected so far. So bring together basically the relevant people from the authorities, but also the stakeholders. Member states need to transpose international law by end of May 2026, the EPBD. At the same time, they need to develop the first draft of the National Renovation Plan, and that is due by the end of 2025. That preparation will have to be done in very close consultation, as I mentioned previously, with the stakeholders to be as specific and useful as possible. That draft will then be discussed with the other member states for mutual learning, I would say, exchange of knowledge, but also then be analyzed by us in the Commission so that we can give recommendations, for instance. Just as an example, recommendations on the ambition level. Is it enough what member states would like to do to get basically to this, I would say, a realistic but still ambitious pathway towards 2030, 2040, 2050? And are the policy measures which are in the national plan, the different supporting tools, financial assistance, information, advice, are they enough? Are they commensurate to the challenge? So, or would there have to be some kind of scaling up still? That is what we will bring to the attention then of member states for them to take into account the recommendations and deliver the final version of the National Building Renovation Plan by the end of 2026. So. That plan is in principle the specific chapter of the National Energy and Climate Plans. The National Energy and Climate Plan is the comprehensive look across the entire society and economy. And the Building Renovation Plan is I would say, the detailed, more granular chapter for buildings. The support which we are trying to provide is on the one hand, I would say, substantive in terms of, for instance, having pilot projects from LIFE and from Horizon, where SINEA plays a very big role in bringing forward and moving forward such projects. so that we can develop innovative practices and see what works where, what are the framework conditions. That's very important. So that's driving forward and developing knowledge. And then the other challenge is spreading knowledge, what is already there, so that it can be replicated elsewhere. For that, the Builder portal is extremely important because it provides a hub for sharing information which exists already, so that it can be replicated and people don't have to reinvent the wheel, for instance. That is, I think, the information which is absolutely crucial to have. We of course try to do that also in our various workshops, committees, stakeholder groups on a more personal level. Usually we have meetings also both in person and virtual, so that people can, without any limits, participate from wherever they are. But we also welcome very much, of course, the in-person exchanges, because they can be often going more into depth, and also sometimes visits in member states of good examples of good practices for replication. I think there's a lot to gain from learning where something has successfully already been implemented. Within each member state there are good examples, but also across the borders, because this creates trust and confidence. So that is very important. And of course, with Sinea's help, we from the Commission, basically from DG Energy, are also at the disposal of member states to give specific advice if needed and discuss particular challenges. And that is also very important when member states basically would like to have, for instance, an exchange on a particular topic in relation to their national circumstances.